I do not own the Halloween franchise.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to take a moment just to note this. Every single one of these will say something along the lines of, I do not own the Halloween franchise, or I do not
I don't own this
the
franchise.
It's
It's like, yeah, we know.
It's like, yeah, I totally expected the creator to be, you know.
Mary slowly rose into his arms.
Now, I'm not expecting the creator to write this. The only creator I ever expect that from is SAO, was called 13.5. Don't look it up if you're under 18.
Nah, fam, I fully believe that Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe, would totally write fanfiction about her own cartoon.
See, no. It's not fanfiction. Her entire cartoon is fanfiction.
Got a point. Anyways, so you ready to start reading?
He's only 6? My god.
You have to set the stage. I met him 15 years ago.
Okay. I'm gonna change the voices for 2 of them.
This person has written 14 chapters of this.
Okay, so he is 6 years old. So this is our meeting of Sister Penelope.
Yeah, this is old. This is when he's still a young boy who hasn't gone and tried to kill.
He's only 6? My god.
Stop. I feel like that should be my character, because I think this is a female.
That's Sister Penelope right there.
Yeah, so it's a female, so it should be me.
Great writing. Okay, let's go. We have to keep all the grammatical in. Now.
Of course.
Go ahead.
He's only 6? My god.
God has long abandoned him, sister.
No! This is a mistake.
Keep going. Every time you break it, you're like, you owe me $1.
Fuck. Alright. Sister Penelope, who was 27 years old at the time,
I have to read all of that in the ASMR.
I don't have the microphone for it, and it would pain me too much, so no!
Sister Penelope, who is...
I'm gonna spit out my soda in your face. Stop! No one can even hear you, you're too quiet!
To the room of Michael Myers.
Stop!
They told her out, Michael.
Anyway, shut up!
Okay.
Sister Penelope, who was 27 years old at the time, followed Dr. Loomis down the halls of the asylum to the room of Michael Myers. When they told her how Michael brutally murdered his own sister, Judith Myers, with a kitchen knife, she couldn't believe that a child so young could do such a horrible thing. Based on what she read in his files, he came from a fairly decent family. His parents weren't neglectful or abusive toward him, and they went to church every Sunday, because God saves everyone. Those who knew Mr. and Mrs. Myers confirmed that they were good parents to both Michael and Judith. So what could have possibly driven this boy to what he did on Halloween night?
You skipped a few words there, but okay.
I don't remember. You do it.
They were now
No! Read it normal, bitch!
They were now standing at Michael's door, and as Loomis reached for the handle, he gave Penelope a grim look. He may be a boy, but if he's capable of taking someone else's life without remorse, then we must be extremely cautious. I'm not keeping consistent voices, screw that.
Good.
We have a different person every time.
Yes. She nodded and held her breath as the door slowly opened. The first thing she saw in that room was the small frame of a boy sitting in the chair, and staring out the large window.
Why is there a large window in an insane asylum? I mean, it would be a small window, because a large window you can escape out of.
Or kill themselves out of.
Exactly.
They specifically
With
stop
enough
that
blast,
from happening. Yeah, that would be...
Okay, let's continue.
Okay, where was I? Staring out a large window. Even as they both walked in and their footsteps echoed, Michael didn't turn to look around to look at them. He didn't even move a muscle. He just sat there in his chair, completely still, like a doll.
Oh, he's such a doll.
Aww.
Michael, someone is here to see you.
Thanks.
I expect him to get like deeper to try and assert his dominance on the 6-year-old who
Over this
killed his
small
sister.
boy.
Over this small boy, just be like, "You don't mess with me, you dog, you filthy animal." Okay, continue.
You're the one. Okay, Loomis said, then nodded at Penelope, who slowly approached the boy with caution. "Hello, Michael," she said softly. "I'm Sister Penelope. I'm a nun who works here." I figured. As she got closer, she could see blonde curly hair. I'll be taking
care of you.
Thanks.
I expect you to keep going and then just cringe.
Until you are well again. She stood at his left side and got a better look at him. He had a face that seemed angelic and innocent, and with his curly blonde hair, he looked like a cherub. If anyone who didn't know, a cherub is like, isn't that like a Valentine? Like a
I honestly don't know.
He looks like a cherub, a sweet little cherub. She quickly forgot why he was sent here in the first place and reached to stroke his soft hair. But before she could touch him, Michael slowly turned his head in a way that seemed mechanical and locked eyes with her. Her mouth opened in a silent gasp.
As she looked into the dark abyss that bore no soul, just emptiness.
Thanks.
And something else. Something that sent chills down her spine and into her heart.
For what seemed like an eternity, he stared at her without any emotion, and eventually Penelope got a hold of herself and hurried over to the door, slamming it behind her. That was my sound effect. Thank you, everybody.
Loomis was already waiting for her
and gently touched the nun. I shouldn't stop there. On the shoulder! On the shoulder! As she pressed her hand against her chest and breathed heavily. You alright?
Thanks. We need a thanks counter for how many times I say thanks.
We need a thanks counter.
She looked up at him with eyes full of fear. His eyes, she gasped slowly. There was nothing in his eyes. Actually, yeah, he had them surgically removed. It's a really sad thing.
Yeah.
You really gotta call him out for that? Damn. Insensitive.
He slowly nodded. No, the nurses are too frightened to even go near him. That's why we came to you for help. Sisterhood claims you are best with children, but I understand if you feel you can't do this.
What was that voice?
I'm honestly just trying to make it go. Where I'm just at the very end, I'm just gonna go.
No, she snapped. Oh, that's gonna be loud and fun to edit. No, she snapped as she whirled around to face him. Then she said calmly, No, Dr. Loomis. I have a duty to God and to this boy. It's obvious that he's a troubled soul, and I won't turn away from this. I was just caught off guard. She glanced over at the door and clasped the crucifix that hung over her necklace. Hung from her necklace. He's only a child. He's only a lad. How are his parents taking this? Well, they disowned him.
Well, they kind of dropped him off here with no intention of getting back into their house or their lives, even after you're They're afraid of their own child. How often do you hear that from parents? Like, really, how often do you hear that? Even the dad's afraid. The dad thinks this boy could overpower him. There's a problem. He's 6! He's 6! Satan has taken him!
Penelope felt her break for Michael. Like, physically, she started to shadow. No. Physically, like, she literally...
Felt her break. Felt her break.
Penelope felt her break for Michael. So he has no one. Poor thing. I wonder why he has no eyes. Well, oh, wait, no, that's you.
Well, I'm grateful to you for taking this job, sister. I must also warn you, and by the way, that was just a comment. I must also warn you to be careful around Michael. I will try to reach him, but I cannot guarantee I will succeed. Only time will.
You have to eat Michael. No, I want to take that comma out of that and just be like, you have to eat Michael. Penelope pushed the plate of mashed potatoes, meatloaf, and green peas further toward Michael, who just sat at the other end of the table and stared at his dinner. He hadn't eaten since the night he murdered Judith and was committed. Yet, wait, he hadn't eaten since the night he murdered her?
How long has he been here?
How long has he been here?
Because they blatantly say, well, one second, let's go back
Like, fear him.
For A, them to fear, B, for all the nurses to have encountered him and be afraid of him, and C, for them to go to a nun for help.
Yeah, like and for her to get arrive here. That's at least a couple weeks.
These are my research noises. How long can a 6-year-old go without eating, comma, for science?
Just write that down.
Alright. Well, we can both agree that 6-year-olds have pretty much faster metabolism, right?
Yeah, this kid would be skin and bones right now.
And Michael already is a skinny kid. He never had the muscle. He didn't have the muscle to overpower.
Let's just ignore that.
Let's ignore the plot hole.
Yeah. Come on, Michael. Oh, wait, no. Come on, Michael. Penelope tried again.
No. Come on, Michael.
No. Penelope tried again, picking up her own fork and dinging into her mashed potatoes. She kept her eyes on him as she took a bite and chewed slowly, with a smile on her face. It's very good. She scooped up some more and pushed it to Michael's lips. Try it.
They're allowed to have forks.
That's illegal.
Like, I don't think they'd give them a fork for a meal that only requires spoon.
Like, yikes.
Meatloaf doesn't require a fork.
Anyways, like, all of this could be eaten with a spoon. Anyways. But Michael kept his mouth...
his mouth shut. Continue. Even as the warm, mushy food touched his lips, the tempting aroma filled his nostrils. I was tempted to say snostrils.
I'm okay. Penelope sighed softly as she lowered the fork and put it down next to her plate. Oh, Michael, please. If you don't eat something, you'll die. Even though you technically, scientifically should be dead already. What good would that do? Suddenly, without saying a word, Michael picked up his fork and held it over his meatloaf. Penelope held her breath, hoping that he would finally eat his meal. But to her disdain, he just started to lightly stab at it.
Michael, don't play with your food. She scolded through. Though, that word is though, she kept her tone soft.
Michael started to stab the meatloaf a little harder, like, fuck you, bitch! Then to Penelope's hoarder, I just imagine him, like, stabbing it and staring at her, like, fuck you!
He became aggressive. The table began to shake as he
attacked his food with no mercy, and with so much rage! Michael!
Penelope ran to the other end of the table and grabbed a hold of him. But for a 6-year-old, he was surprisingly strong and struggled to keep him still. I told you, man, his dad is afraid!
Michael, stop! Michael! No! Delivered as a true artist. She cried out in pain as Michael suddenly stabbed her in the arm with the fork. This is why they're not allowed to have forks. This is why. And let go of him. He had stabbed hard enough to draw a bit of blood, but it wasn't life-threatening. I hope not. It was a plastic damn fork. Y'all are giving him.
No, apparently
If
it's
it's
metal.
a metal fork, y'all are stupider than I thought. Stupider is not a word. Y'all are more stupid than I thought.
You discredited yourself at this point.
Damn it.
Which was filled with plastic, hopefully. And when she looked back down at Michael, the boy was looking at her with the same emotionless expression, but he tilted his head a bit in a curious manner. She sucked in a deep breath and nodded.
Yes, Michelle.
You heard me!
You hurt me. Very slowly, Michael got up from his chair and pulled the napkin away, studying the wound he inflicted upon her. He seemed very intrigued with the blood that was seeping through her handkerchief.
Okay, I thought it was a
Neckerchief.
napkin, though. I thought it was a
It
napkin.
says neckerchief. Ah.
Dude, it's a napkin chef. It's a napkin chef, dude.
I lifted his finger to touch it, but Penelope stepped back and continued to put pressure on it with napkin. With the napkin! Not with the... just with napkin.
With napkin. No, don't touch it, Michael. He said softly. Just eat your supper. She hurried to the door and shut it behind her. She stood in the hall and closed her eyes and let out a heavy, frustrated sigh. God give me strength.
Or else I'll stab him with a fork. Ooh, she's the murderer now.
She killed Michael. She is Lori.
About 30 minutes later,
Lori's a time traveler.
after she cleaned the wound and changed her neckerchief, she returned to Michael's room and he was still in his seat. But to her surprise and delight, his plate had been licked clean. Oh, you finished! Gucci. She smiled warmly at him and patted him on the back before picking up his plate. And hers. That makes me happy, Michelle. Very happy.
Thank you, Michelle. Very cool.
McGill! Has your sister ever done anything to hurt you? Or, no, wait. Has your sister ever done anything to make you angry, McKeel? Enough to make you want to hurt her? Dr. Loomis and Mecha sat at the table. Sat at the table the very next morning, and the psychiatrist asked his young patient several questions with a tape recorder. But Mish remained silent and merely stared at him with cold, dead eyes that were surgically removed from him. Penelope stood at the other end of the room and watched the entire session, and in her hands was a plain paper bag. Michael, please.
I can't help you unless you let me in. But he got no response.
Let
Looked
me
over at
in.
Penelope. I'd mute you, but
I'm the recorder.
he looked over at Penelope and shook his head with a soft sigh. I suppose we'll try again tomorrow,
I suppose.
he said to Michael as he stood up and headed to the door with his recorder and notepad. Once he was gone, Penelope walked over to the table and placed the table, yes, that's what I meant to say. Placed the bag in front of Michael. I have
a surprise for you, Michael! Oh my gosh!
Reached out a bag, a light brown teddy bear with blue button. He didn't move a button. Didn't move a muscle. So she placed it in his lap. His name is Thomas, and he needs a friend, too. Michael looked out at the bear, picking it up, studying its features, running his fingers through its fluffy fur.
Wait, his name is Thomas? I want to imagine this is just like a furry version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Studying its features, running his hair through its fluffy fur.
He's soft, isn't he? Do you like him, Mike?
But then the boy grabbed a hold of the bear's hand, and with one tug, he completely ripped it off. Then pulled out all the stuffing and dropped it onto the floor, leaving nothing but a rag that hung limp
Penelope rubbed her temples and shook her head. In all her years, she had never met a child so destructive and stubborn. All right, I'll go get the broom. Why do you need a broom? It's stuffing. That shit's really easy to just grab in clumps.